Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have a pretty cool chick from Toronto, Canada area on the show today. Serena. Oh, geez, I didn't even ask. Bufalino, I believe. I think I got it. But anyway, we'll find out her name. We'll have her pronounce it for us. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Let's bring Serena on the show. Serena.
Hello. Hey. Hi. Yes, you got it right.
I got it. Yay.
You did a good job. Serena Bufalino. This is me. Thank you, Ken, for having me here today. It's really, really, really exciting.
Oh, I'm so excited. So there's a friend of mine in Toronto.
Yeah.
In the Toronto area.
Robert, we were just discussing how we are Canadian, eh? Right? We actually just had this conversation. So I'm with you, Robert, and I'm proud to be Canadian. And yes, I probably will say a couple times.
I love it. I love it. So we have some real rock stars joining us already. Larry Schneider, good morning. Robert, good morning. So Serena, I created this show a couple of years or 2.5 years ago, I guess. And it was to help people get unstuck in life, because I think we all hit those walls in life, and it just so happens that my last name works with that, and so here we are.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you said that, because I feel like our whole life is learning how to get unstuck.
Yeah.
Because, being stuck is a part of life. It's an everyday part of life. So I always say, if you don't learn how to be okay with not being okay, you're never going to be okay.
So true. So why don't we start with where you were born and raised, which we kind of already know, eh?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario, which is just outside of Toronto. And I always say I'm a very proud, and then I'm a true Hamiltonian. And I truly believe that just the community that I was born and raised in built me strong and built me tough, but also built me with a lot of heart and integrity. So I take really that, what I call that roughness about me, and I put it in a place of love. So I have like this, I call like gangster love inside of me, or like, because I'm built tough. I definitely am built tougher than I believe maybe the regular.
Well, Serena, for the record, you don't look tough.
Oh, don't let that smile fool you. And if you got to know me better, you probably wouldn't say that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So talk about what it was. I mean, I'm not that far from you. I'm just down the road in Ohio. So, but talk about what it was like being raised where you were raised. What was, and the reason I ask is this, is I find that I truly believe that there's always a person or an event or something that happens in our childhood that kind of lays the path for what we do or become as an adult.
100%. You kind of hit like so many different angles there. So definitely the short end of the stick was I was born to two incredible parents. I love my mom and dad. They are 100% the reason why I am here. And like I said, I was luckily born into two parents who loved me tremendously. So it was a solid foundation of love, which is a beautiful thing to start your life with. But things shifted quite traumatically as life went on. You know, I have two older sisters. I absolutely love my sisters as well. My middle sister has suffered with mental health her entire life.
Mm.
And there was, as you said, there was a tragic accident that happened in my family's life when I was 12 years old. And that particular event shifted me tremendously, because prior to that, although I was born to great parents and siblings, I was always a little bit of a, like I said, a shit disturber, excuse my language.
You're fine.
I struggled significantly with reading and writing. My parents were both immigrants from Italy, and just their life journey didn't permit school for them. So my parents were never the parents that actually sat down and were able to help me with homework or help me read and write. But again, my parents taught me this love, and they taught me that every moment of my life is a teaching lesson, right? So as much as they enforced education on me because they wanted me to have that so that I could have a better life,
yeah,
I didn't really take that so seriously, because I didn't enjoy reading and writing. So I spent all my elementary school being sent down to the office, and all the people who know me from high school, especially when I bump into them now that I'm in my hometown. I haven't been in my hometown for over 20 years. And so I've been bumping into a lot of my friends, and they say, like, let's just call it what it is, Serena. You were not the sweetest, nicest girl in high school, right? So to see you go on and do great things in the world that I didn't even believe I was capable of has really, again, shifted my life. So being kicked out of class, being sent to special education classrooms, being left behind meant I was always stupid. I was stupid. I didn't learn the way other kids learned. So I was, put into a different classroom with different children. And I was never actually accepted for the social, super social, kind of spiritual, intuitive person that I was. That, again, I wanted to connect. For me, I wanted to connect. I wanted to know who my teacher was. I wanted to know who my friends were, not who they presented themselves to be, but I always cared about, like, the heart, the energy of people.
Even in elementary school at a young age.
Yeah, I never cared about reading and writing or school or the things, academics, but I always cared about people, and I always wanted the people around me to be okay. So, like I said, I was a little bit of a troublemaker, a little bit of a shit disturber, but I always had this heart and this respect behind it. So I wasn't, like, aggressive. I was masking my behavior of not knowing how to read and write with, a shitty attitude. But all of it was just to mask, the fact that I couldn't read and write and didn't want people to see that in me. But the core of who I was always somebody who wanted all the people around me to be okay. And that started, again, with my family, with my friends, everybody. Hi.
So this not knowing how to read and write, was that by choice, or was it a?
No, even to this day, unless I learned by doing, I'm not your traditional learner, which is why I became a special education specialist. Good morning. We have so many fans here this morning.
Do you know Nazira?
No, I do not.
She's in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
All Canadian friends are coming out.
Yeah.
Way to go, Canada.
The word must have gotten out. I don't know.
That's it. A Canadian, is on your show, and they're all coming. I like that. Yeah. But back to that original question. Learning, definitely I never wanted to be the stupid kid in class. I never wanted to be the one that, didn't know, how to do things. When the other kids were reading, I was looking at the paper like, what does this say? And, the teachers would sometimes go up and down rows and everybody read a sentence. And I would try to figure out, I wouldn't even pay attention to what people were reading, but I would try to figure out how many kids were in front of me so I could get to my sentence and just, try it many times so that when my turn came, I didn't sound that silly. So again, that will kill your self-esteem as a young age. Like I had the spirit, I had the heart, so I knew I had something. I just knew it wasn't the academic part.
Yeah.
And so again, that's why when the teacher would ask me to do something that I didn't understand, I would act out. I would misbehave. I would do something stupid that would get me kicked out of the classroom. But whenever I was in the principal's office, I always listened to my principal. I always took the punishment or the consequence, and I took it with love because, again, I didn't want to be embarrassed by my peers. So
was there like a learning disability you had
100%.
then? Oh, there was.
Yes.
Okay.
I had more than one learning disability. I definitely have ADHD, attention deficit disorder. So it's extremely difficult for me to sit for an extended period of time and learn. And then I was dyslexic. And again, I struggled significantly with the reading and writing because my family wasn't helping me, at home with books because they didn't know how to read. We didn't have money for tutors. And I was too embarrassed to tell people at that time. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Walden. So yeah, I definitely, that's exactly why I became the teacher that I always wish I had. And I became a special education teacher specifically to work with the kids that were falling through the cracks, the kids that were not being serviced in a mainstream high school, because I was that student. I was that child. And I knew that if I got to reach those children, that I could actually get to the core of what was happening. And when you can get to the truth and when you can get to the core of what the underlying problem is, that's the only time that you can actually accept it at that stage in your life, and then work with somebody to take the proper steps to move forward, productively and successfully. And I didn't realize that I was actually going to be able to be that person. Like, the fact that I graduated high school was a big deal, let alone go on to university and then become this extremely successful educator in special education. Again,
wow.
I don't consider myself to be an academic teacher. I focus on life skills. I focus on social skills, social emotional problems, how to think, act, and be in the world, how to be human. And I feel like that is missing in our education system. Yes, I'm not dismissing reading and writing is of utmost importance, but social behavior, social relationships, social interaction with yourself and others is a massive part of education that I feel like is being underserviced. So I took the liberty to dedicate my life to that. And I'm still doing that now.
That is so awesome. So you ended up, you went to university. You went through all. So what was it? What was it like though? We got Ron in Boston calling you Miss B.
Yes, I am known as Miss B. Yes, I am. Thank you, Ron. Hi, Ron. That's awesome. It. I mean, especially the first 15 to 20 years of my career, everybody knows me. Like, not only the students, the street gangs, the murderers, the prostitutes, the gang leaders, the homeless, the people at the shelters, all across the GTA. I can walk down certain neighborhoods and everybody neighborhoods that are hard. I'm mainly in the hardest to serve areas across our planet, from Canada to USA, Chicago, LA. You go to the hardest to serve areas. Haiti being my number one country that I've worked in. Not only do I work in Haiti, but I work in what is considered the hardest communities to serve in Haiti, where the Haitians don't even go into those neighborhoods. So,
and you go.
I do go. I do. That's what I say. Like, you want to talk about trust and belief in yourself and the universe and all good karma and all good nature to be there for you. I live by that. I do not, absolutely not listen to the media. I do not listen to probably what 90% of the population even tell me.
Wow.
Because Ron, I have put service above self. And I have literally become a human who is sacrificing my life by choice for the greater good of others. And that's what leads me.
Are you, I mean, do you find yourself ever though in like situations you're like, oh no, this isn't good?
Oh yes. All the
You
time.
said-
I definitely, again, I have to go against the norm and I have to trust and believe. But there have been many times. I have so many stories. That's
Wow.
the thing I bring to the table is a good story. There's so many, probably on a daily basis. There's a moment in my life where if I'm not putting, my life at risk, I'm putting one of my team members' life at risk. But we all do this knowing that this is part of what service to humanity involves. It means, using yourself, your gifts, your talents, your resources for the greater good of others. And when you are truly of service to the people who need you the most, like these communities in Haiti, in Kenya, in Africa, in Colombia, all of these places that Help Heal Humanity is servicing are some of the hardest to serve places on our entire planet. So, with serving the hardest to serve communities in the world comes a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of, unsafe situations, a lot of danger. But again, as long as you have the right mindset, skill set, and you learn how to think, act, and behave in those ways, I think your spirit will get you through everything. Your mind.
That is so incredible. So Charles Coachman says his son has recently taken up working with children and teens with autism. His wife just retired as an elementary school teacher, working in a gang-ridden area of San Jose. Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
And that's, it's very true. Like you said, unless you've lived with and experienced severe mental health, unless you've gone into these hoods, these gangs. Bloods and Crips are a very big, well-known gang all across the world. I had Blood and Crip leaders in my classroom under the same roof, ready to kill each other. I've had, guns pulled out in really scary situations. I've seen I worked in state penitentiaries. I worked in the biggest young offenders facility in Canada for 4 years. I worked in 3 of the biggest mental health facilities in Toronto. So when you are and you surround yourself all day, almost every day, with people that are suffering at a rate that you will never understand, or are committing crimes that are putting them in jail and felonies that have, changed their life forever in the bad, you start to become numb to all of it, truthfully. But then you also realize that, again, it's always, the special education teachers, because we have this big heart. We want to help. We want to raise that underdog to the level and to the potential we know that they can be at. And really, it was through becoming the teacher, like you said, being a special education teacher, being in these environments where I'm serving, for sure, unfortunately, what is determined the lowest, most inhumane part of society. And I'm serving these people every day, both in my professional life and my passion at night with being, part of this on the streets with the homeless and the street gangs and the prostitutes. And so I was.
Oh, one second. So you're going out to the streets at night?
Yes, every day. And
seriously?
Yes. I mean, I can tell you many stories, and I have many newspaper clippings. I have many.
But what are you doing? You're walking up to prostitutes and saying, "Hey, you want to chat?" Or what are you doing?
So there's 2 things that I'm doing, and again, this is part of my journey and my story, and why I believe everybody can be transformed.
Yeah.
Because again, I would do it, but first in my classroom with my kids. My kids being the hardest to serve youth. And I'm trying to teach my kids life skills, social skills, and how to think, act, and be in the world as productive members of society. I'm trying to reintegrate them into life and into a better life. And so it's really hard to do that because nobody wants to deal with these kids or these populations. So instead, what I did was I started to use my kids, and I started to use the street gangs, and I started to use the prostitutes, and I started to put them together to teach them life skills and social skills, and teach them how to not only help themselves, but use each other to help each other. So
Wow.
I would take my students every Thursday for sure. Well, it was every Thursday and Friday. Thursdays were one of my favorite days of the week. I got to take my students to feed the homeless. Like, how amazing is that? To wake up in the morning, thank God I'm alive,
Wow.
get to school where I'm getting paid exceptionally well. And now I get to take all my students downtown Toronto for the day, where we prepare, so my students are now learning how to take the trains across the city. They're learning even how to go to places that they might need to go to in their life, such as the food shelter, the homeless shelter, the food bank, the women's shelter, Value Village. They were shelving clothing at Value Village to learn how to work in retail. Some of them, we would be volunteering in, nature parks and learning how to be outdoors. So they were all learning how to be different in the world by doing differently. And again, I used my students to role model to them and myself that we can do anything. So we can use ourselves, people that nobody wants to deal with. And I would tell my students, we were chosen to be together. You guys are amazing and nobody sees your potential. But by the time you get out of this classroom, Miss B promises you will be a different human being. And we have to take this journey together.
My mind is a little bit blown, Miss B, because I didn't know all this about you. Wow. So.
And we're not even halfway to the story.
I know. Well, I want to back up. You have these students. Are they special needs? Are they where are they on the?
Well, so again, for my very first teaching position was in jail. So I was teaching young offenders in jail. In jail. Yes. And these were the kids that were serving 5+ years. If you're a young offender serving 5+ years,
you've done something bad.
You've committed the biggest crimes on multiple occasions. So those were my clientele. So I was limited in what I could do with them because I could not take them out of the jail environment.
Right.
What I could do was make their school days the most productive, successful school kind of learning environment that they've ever experienced. Because I would tell my students, we are not picking up textbooks for at least, the first 3, 5, 6 months we're together. I gotta learn how to be human. And they're like, what do you mean, miss? I'm like, clearly, whatever you're doing in the world is not working for you.
You said that?
Always, even in my classrooms when I had the Bloods, I had the Crips, I had autistic. Really, it was so odd because I'd have autistic kids, I'd had kids with learning disabilities and following on different ends of the spectrum. Then I'd have complete gangsters and criminals. So I'd have 15, once I left the jail setting, and then I had my own classroom, I'd have 15 of the hardest to serve youth in the city under one roof. Right? Yes. And that's it. I was saying this the other day. Parents would come, or the police would come, or their guardian would come to pick them up, and it would be 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I'm still sitting with them on the streets or here or there. Putting myself in situations, as we said earlier, that I should not be in. In the middle of gang wars, in the middle of gang fires, in the middle of really, unethical situations. And I did it because I cared for them and I wanted them to know that they were not alone, and that together, whatever it was they were going through, I accepted, appreciated, and loved them for who they were. But together we were going to get them to the next level. And it took time. It took a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of belief in myself, a lot of belief in them. And then I've gone on to tell everybody, including my students who I still talk to today, because I quit my job 5 years ago, that we can really do anything we set our mind to. And if my students could step up to the plate to help others, and through my students and we organically form a charity who now obviously is not being run by my students and I, but is being run by very successful, amazing people in the world.
Wow.
That we really can do anything we put our mind to. And if we just take the steps every day, little steps every day, even when we don't know how to do it, and just get out of our heads and do it, we can achieve anything. And when my students, the kids that nobody wanted to deal with, the kids that all society had turned away, started to go out into the world and be of service to others, like that they could actually make a difference in other people's life, blew their mind, because nobody wanted them. And now all of a sudden they're feeding the homeless, and they're seeing that they're making a difference to the homeless. They are, again, in the women's shelter, we're cleaning, we are preparing meals, we are giving out, making clothes and boxes of, emergency products. At the food bank, we're putting together, again, boxes, and we're delivering them to low-income families. And my students are like not understanding, wait, why are they homeless? Or why do they have a home, but they can't afford food? And then so all of a sudden, these kids start to realize, like, maybe my life is not as bad as I thought it was. Maybe I'm not as stupid as I think I am. And actually, I can actually do something to help somebody else. And when my students started to experience those feelings and emotions, and they started to see themselves grow and mature in a completely different way, they're like, I always said, they would, yay, leave it. Yes, yes, yes. They at the beginning, and you would see it. I could actually just show you before and after pictures, because my kids at the beginning of the year, they were, they had no self-esteem. They were slouched over. They were, overweight. And just through our actions, teaching them how to take care of themselves, teaching them how to eat properly, teaching them how to go for walks, how to go to the gym, how to release, how to play basketball, teaching them all these skill sets and then putting them in the world. By the end of the year, and for some of them, I would have up to 2 years, the person that they came in and the person that they left were completely different. And
wow.
Because I've seen that transformation, and I've not only experienced it myself as a child through my own learning, but then be able to pass that gift on to my students, and then see my students pass that gift on to others, I know that this method and this mythology works. It's just a matter of getting more people to realize their true potential. And like you said, getting them unstuck and getting them to live a life that is fulfilling for them, and not who they think they should be or who they've been told to be.
So let's talk about the most important part, and that is you're teaching them how to be human.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you're not cracking open the textbooks and you're so what are some examples of, I don't know, maybe a transformation? How do you teach? Because I'm very transparent. I'm a recovered alcoholic. The first time I was arrested was 12 years old, and I was an alcoholic by that time, and I went through some crazy stuff as a kid. I may have spent a little time at a juvenile center as a kid, but I turned my life around, obviously, and today it's a completely, I don't even remember that life really, but there's a lot of people who don't, statistically, I should be dead or incarcerated, right?
Yeah. And that's why people like you are leaders and innovators and creatives, because we use our life story. We're not looking at theories and textbooks, which obviously have great lessons. But when you have actually lived and experienced that life of being depressed, being an alcoholic, being a drug addict, having, mental health, and then you strive above, you become a leader and an example for others. So again, being a special education student let me connect deeply with the special education kids I was teaching. Because I'd be like, I was you. They're like, no, you're not, miss. I'm like, yeah, I got kicked out of school. Yep, I got suspended. Yes, I got caught doing this. Yes, I got caught doing that. And I'm like, so I know it's possible because I was like you, and I never thought I would be where I am today. And
well, I'm curious of how you take because I wasn't a gang member. How do you take a gang? I mean, some of those guys and girls are hard freaking core. I mean, really hardcore.
Really,
And
really hard.
how do you take a gang member and create especially if they're incarcerated, for example, how do you have them? How do you create that? What do you do? What are some of the things that you do?
I feel like, again, it only happens with real truth, raw truth, and integrity. When you can break someone down, and that's ultimately what I'm doing. I'm breaking them down. I'm letting them see their reality. And because I'm always there for them and that we have that human connection, they believe in me. So they open up to me. And again, this is why I say, like, I have the lesson plans and I have all the binders and all the things that I needed to look professionally, academically, but you cannot mirror the human spirit and connection I had with these kids. And so first I would just really get to know them and love them and accept them and let them know that they are loved and accepted. Because every human, even and especially the gangsters, the prostitutes, the homeless, all of those people have hearts that are ridiculously bigger than what you would actually believe. They've been so broken in their life and they have been taught by the product of their environment. So they're born to believe that the actions that they're doing are normal because that's all they know. You cannot do or be something if you're not inspired by them. So if your inspiration is, like you said, an alcoholic father, a drug addict mother, you know, a very bad, you know, parent, then you as a child believe that that's all you know. So you start to act in that way, but nobody wants to be the loser. Nobody wants to be the stupid kid. Nobody wants to be the drunk guy on the floor for the 100th time. Just so those are what you're doing is you're masking your heartache with drugs and alcohol. So it's really just getting to the root of that heartache. Why are you doing this? What is making this happen for you? And again, showing them the different options and possibilities. Yes, you can continue on this life. Yes, you can continue being this, but this is most likely going to result in more of this, which is more jail time, more street time, more not good situations. Or like everybody, I'm sure there's something inside of you that wants to be loved, wants to be appreciated, wants to have a, you know, everybody wants a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner, especially at young ages, you know, and they do want a nice life. They just don't think that that's possible for themselves. So they just keep misbehaving and they keep acting out, not knowing any other way. But when somebody comes in and really holds your hands and lets you know that you're there for them and that you can get through this together and you're going to be their cheerleader and their coach, you can break somebody right down. And after breaking them down, you can break them open. So you, like every kid on my desk, every kid in my classroom on their desk, on the right, left side of their desk would be a sheet that had their triggers, the things that set them off. Most of these kids are acting out. There's no such thing as talking it out. You fight it out. There's no such thing as, you know, acting nice, calm, cool. You act aggressive, mean, and ugly. So I have all those triggers on one side of their desks. And then I would think about all the things that they loved and they enjoyed. So I'd have their coping skills on the right side of their desk. And I would get to understand my students better than they understood themselves. So I would say at one point, like, look, number four, you are getting upset right now. So you need to get out of the classroom and you need to go and play your basketball. You need to go for a walk. You need to go punch the punching bag and you need to stop what you're doing right now and break that pattern if you actually want to be a better human. And so over time, it was not always easy. It's definitely not easy. None of it is easy, but you're there for them. And so and I see the transformation, because in the beginning, the kids are like, Miss, this is so stupid. But then within months, instead of me yelling at them, like, come on, number 3 is happening and you need to go do number 1 or 2. And then, months into it, they're like, Miss, I'm getting triggered right now and I need to go and I'll be back in 5 minutes. So they started to recognize it, and they started to learn how to better deal with themselves. And again, I say this, we would role play. And this was part of the boldness of my classroom, because, the guy who was leading the Bloods versus the guy who was leading the Crips versus, the autistic kid that looked and acted silly, everybody would pick on each other. And I would call it out. I would just call it right out. Really? So you think you're smarter than him because he looks like this, or you do this, or you do that? Get up in front of the classroom. And I would challenge them. I'd put them right up on a spot in front of each other, to the point where, they started to learn about each other too. Like, here's the autistic kid that they think is fat, ugly, stupid in the back, who can't do nothing. And I throw him up. Once they would make fun of him, I would throw him up at the front of the classroom, and I would say, I'm not supposed to say their names, so I would say whatever his name is, and I'd ask him, because he was so gifted in math, or he was so gifted in these other areas, and I would start to say, like, things that the other kids would never understand, like, what's 20 times 20? What's 100 divided by 2? What's this, and he would just bang them off in front of the class, and the other kids were like, how does he do that? And I said, yeah, so he's here for one reason and you're here for another. And your reason is no different than his, because we're all trying to get the end result of being better humans. So do not put down the autistic kid. Do not put down the gangster kid. Do not put down the druggy kid, or whatever they, would term each other as, because we're all humans. We all have hearts. We all have spirits. We all want to be loved the same way. And we all ended up in this classroom because I am your last hope for you. You know it, your family knows it, everybody knows it. So now is your time to learn and inspire and transform, or go to the back of the class and don't ruin it for us who are trying to, do it up here in the front. And I did have some Mr. Miserable kids in the back, but when they started to see what was happening in the front, they slowly make their way up to the front. So again, I'm never forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do. I'm just leading by example, giving you the tools and the resources, and ultimately it's your decision, right? And then at that point, you don't have excuses anymore. I don't know what's harder, is feeling sorry for yourself and not knowing the answer, or actually knowing the answer and having to do something about it.
I'll bet that you are actually safer than most people walking through some of those neighborhoods.
Oh, for sure.
I'll bet that you have all kinds of protection.
And that's coming to know your purpose in life, coming to know your truth. We still don't know the entire story of, who I am and how I got here. But in a nutshell, my successful teaching with my students, whom, again, I never thought I would even graduate high school, let alone become this teacher that I was. And then my students, again, being out into the world, that's how this charity behind me, Help Heal Humanity, was formed, was because when my students started to see the level of suffering in their own community, they couldn't believe it. And these are kids nobody wants. And then one particular day when I was coming home with my students from feeding the homeless on the Thursdays, like I said, every Thursday religiously for 15 years, we were serving the homeless. And that was for them to learn how to get around in their city. That was the shelter at the homeless kitchen was a full-on industrial kitchen. So they were either learning how to make meals, they were either in the dishwasher being, dish pit, or they were up in the front serving. So when you left my classroom, you left with a resume that had at least 3 workplace experiences in the hopes that you can find job in the world. And when we were coming back, and this is where my life, again, there was many pivotal moments in my life, where the Thursday, it was Thursday, May 11th, 2010. My students and I were coming home from feeding the homeless, and on all the TV stations, there was the devastating earthquake in Haiti, one of the biggest catastrophic earthquakes to ever hit our planet and hit the poorest country on our planet. So that was like a massive double whammy. I know nothing about Haiti, except for Haiti is an exceptionally poor country. Yeah. And so when they were showing the devastation, I looked, and my students, I was always a happy, silly cheerleader. Like, I'm always trying to make people laugh. I will make myself look absolutely ridiculous just for you to smile. And I would say that to my kids. If I made you smile today, and if I made you forget about your problems, then I did a great job today. Wow. And they saw me somewhat upset, and they're like, Miss B, like, what's wrong? And I said, you guys think you have it bad. I'm like, look at that. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, that's a massive earthquake that happened in Haiti. I said, and the students, they hate the police because they're always in trouble. They hate the school because the school kicks them out. And I said, the stupid police, and most of them live in group homes. The stupid group home, and all the mental health hospital, all these places and all these services that you think are stupid. There are kids in this world that would die for your life. And my students were like, what do you mean, miss? I'm like, there are kids that wish they could go to school, but they don't have a school to go to. There are kids that wish that they could call the police when they're in trouble, that they had an actual home to go to, that they actually had a meal that somebody would serve them. I said, you guys don't realize that there are kids all over the world that don't have that. And my students in that moment challenged me. And this is, again, where my life shifted. They said, well, Miss B, and they were very, very right. You tell us every morning we can do anything we set our minds to. So I think we need to set our minds to building a school for these kids. And just like that, of course, living in Canada, having, being a special education teacher, I know nothing about Haiti. I do not know how to build a school. I do not know how to work in foreign countries. But I said to my students, yes, let's do it. We'll go back to the classroom, and every day we'll start to figure out how we can do something to help those kids, and we will try to build them a school. And I, again, wanted to stay true to the concept that we can do anything. And I wanted to role model to my students only. I wasn't trying to be a hero, but just to them, that they can do it, and that together we can do it. And thus became a new cycle of my life that I didn't even know I was capable of. So again, testing all limits, breaking all boundaries, and just saying yes. And that was it. We found out we could build a school. I connected with people in Haiti, my students and I, and again, they learned life skills and social skills because they were planning fundraisers. Like, if we were going to go build a school in Haiti, we needed, $50,000 at least. Go ahead, Fred.
So take a breath. I mean, somebody just said this is the most speechless Ken has ever been. Like, I'm just letting you go. Like, you're like, wow. So did you take your students to Haiti?
By law, I was not allowed to bring my students to Haiti.
Oh, okay.
At some point, we even had a film crew because it became a very good, feel-good story. Like, yeah. If at-risk youth could step up to serve others, then not only what is the rest of the world doing, but let's see what they're doing. And so again, like I told my students at the beginning of the year, Miss B is going to make you famous. And so when they would, some of, because of confidentiality, they were not allowed to be on the news. Because they were owned by the government, they weren't allowed to take these trips, right? Very minimal of my students.
They were they were various forms of incarceration.
Well, at that time with those youth, they weren't incarcerated, but they were in group homes. And when you're in a group home, your parents have turned you over to the government, and you now become a child of the ward of the government. And so they were not by law allowed. And even sometimes they would get so sad because, again, the TV, the news came inside our classroom. They do news reports on us. newspaper reports, but my students weren't allowed to be on TV. And so they would get so upset because they were like, Miss, we finally have our moment of fame and we can't be on the TV. And so I'd go above and beyond. I would find their core parents. And I mean, the government sometimes did not like me. The group home did not like me, because I would always find a way to work around and figure out a solution. Like for me, there a barrier and a mistake. It's just the next step to success. So I would never, like, there was never, no, we can't do this. It's like, how do we do this? And figure out a strategy to do it. And so I did end up getting, not all of them, but a good handful of them back to the core of their parents to approve them being on TV or approve them being in media. And I'm in touch with all those kids today. And, they all have, they're older now, right? Some of them
they're adults, right? A lot of,
yes, all of them have my phone number. All of them are on social media. The whole Help Heal Humanity thing, I think, happened not, again, because I was trying to form a charity, was because my students and I wanted to help others. And then it opened up my heart. Like, I never thought I would leave my teaching job. Like, I was a highly paid, successful teacher. I quit every single paying job I had, all my structure, all my stability at 35 years old, to actually live a life of service, live a life of purpose, and be able to create a much better place than I was born into, and also realize that my purpose in life is much greater than my paycheck, and my purpose in life is much greater than the accolades. It's more, again, about helping people. Nobody knew what I did. People are starting to understand what I did, because now, as I don't make an income and now I'm not a teacher, I am, running a charity, that I do have to get my message out there, and I do have to get my story out there, because without, people like Patricia Gagic, she is I don't even know. She's my spirit mama. She's my mentor. She's my leader. She is a woman of complete success, passion. And, she mentors me, and she's number one in my life. And, and I have a few number ones in my life who, without their mentorship and guidance, I would never be where I am today. But again, taking that leap of faith from a paying, secure job to forming a charity where at this point in time, there are no paid employees. So we are all operating truly out of service to humanity. And we are all trying to raise the level and the consciousness of all beings everywhere by being of service and by showing love and by role modeling that there is so much more to life than just that certificate or just that accomplishment, that if you actually operate from the heart, from spirit, from human connection, that maybe you might not have a lot of money in the bank, but your karmic bank is like filled to no other, and your purpose and meaning in this world is far greater than any monetary value. And unless you experience it and live it, it's really hard to know. Because if somebody would have told me this 20 years ago, I would have just laughed in their face and said, I'm not even going to try it. But because I've tried it, I've lived it, I've experienced it, and I'm continuously growing from it by supporters, by my board, by my team, by all the people who, without them, I'd never be where I am, believing in us and us trying to change the world one student, one country, one project at a time.
Wow. I truly am blown away. This is only an hour long, but we're going over. We're going over. We'll be here at 3:00. So let me ask you. Wow, my mind. I have all these questions. So okay, first question is, what's the biggest transformation that you've seen with one of these students?
Oh, one of these students. I have, that's,
I'm sure you have thousands, but I want to hear what's a big one that sticks out in your mind.
There's a few of them. Again, I had one girl who came into my program who was completely nonverbal. She only acted out by hitting, biting, screaming, punching.
Wow.
She did not know how to use her words at all. And over time, we would teach her how to use her words. We would teach her how to not hit, bite, slap, punch. And not only that, when she finally started to not hide in the corner all day, when she finally started not to hurt people, and she started to open up, and we started to actually small words, like little words, one word to describe a feeling, an action, a thought, to then eventually getting 2 sentences, and then actually being on the phone with, like, a girl who can't write, a girl who can't speak is writing me letters, is calling me on the phone. I'm having full-blown conversations with her. She's now gone on to be a child and youth worker, and she works with kids who are exactly like her. She's gotten married. She is back in her parents' life. I hang out with her family all the time. I hang out with her all the time. And every time I talk to her, I almost cry, because I'm like, can you imagine, when I first met you? And she's one of my, success stories. And because her mom and her family are very close to my life, and all of them, believe that it was our energies that helped her get here, that they have done interviews on my behalf. They have spoken about me, and the students have spoken about me where I don't need to speak about me. I have another kid who, again, he was not living in his family's house. He was on the streets. He was a bit of a gamer. He was, doing illegal things to support bad habits. And again, not doing school, very talented, very bright. Once he came into my classroom, he didn't even have, a certificate from elementary school, but I saw his wisdom. And so, like, I put him on a fast learning pace to the point where he started off doing elementary schoolwork in my classroom, all the way up to college level, left my classroom, going to college, immersed himself in a gaming program, and he's now producing games for big companies. And he has been in a lot of my videos saying, if it wasn't for Miss B and what she did to be there for me, to support me. And again, none of this was easy. I was putting myself in crack houses. I was putting myself in very unsafe, unstable situations. I was putting myself in the middle of gang wars where I should have been at home, possibly maybe dating, maybe, maybe hanging out with friends. But instead I was on the streets, and and my kids, they called me, Miss, it's a situation. A situation means shit is going down. And
so give me a real life example without using names, but like you said, I put myself in crack houses. Like what, like how did you just like walk into a crack house? Hey, what's up?
Yes, kind of like right now on my daily, where I'll walk into Cité Soleil, I'll walk in Canaan, I'll walk into these neighborhoods. I'll even just say, for example, I'm working with Rotary right now, and I have a big, that's not me, it's the charity, Help Heal Humanity has a big collaboration happening with Rotary in Haiti. And our first 2 project proposals got turned down because no Haitians want to go into Cité Soleil or Canaan, where people are getting shot on a daily basis, where people are getting killed on a daily basis. And again, this is where Help Heal Humanity has our schools. We have our feeding programs. We have our, our Special Olympic program. We have after school programs. And so I, with all my heart, just drive my motorcycle with my team into these areas. And again, putting all our lives at risk. My students, the females who were doing prostitution, whoa, I could tell you some phenomenal stories about that. But again, they were in my classrooms. They were in the jail at that time. And as we know, a lot of these youth are reoccurring offenders. So it was in my classroom where I'm not supposed to say this, but I took those girls who earned their living by working the streets, and they challenged me because they were like, Miss, we don't know how to do math. We don't know how to do this. And you would only be a good teacher if you would teach us math. And I was like, okay, a challenge. I can have a whole episode about challenges and how I always accept them and do crazy things with them. And so I brought these girls into a special room where right on the chalkboard, okay, how much money does it cost when you do this service, when you do this service, when you do this service? Oh yes, but Miss, we have, a pimp, we have a boss, we need to pay the boss. Oh, but Miss, we do crystal meth, we need to pay our drugs and our druggie. And so I'm teaching them math through life skills. And here's a really funny story, again, that I'm not supposed to be telling. So I guess maybe I'm not a teacher anymore. This can't come back to hurt me. They realized, and this was a great moment, when one of the girls looked and she was, we were like maybe 3-4 weeks into the program, and she looks and she says, Miss, I'm getting ripped off. I'm getting ripped off. And she figured out where she was losing money. So she was only there temporarily. She got out of jail. She went back, obviously. Hello, Christopher.
Hey, Christopher.
I told you, I love Christopher.
He's awesome.
He's a coach. If you're looking for a coach, you have to go to him, because I tell everyone he is my kindred spirit. He is my soul brother, because we think the exact same way. And we both come from as you know, Ken, we are not coming from easy lives.
Yeah.
Right? And
Chris and I know each other well, very well.
And we've used ourselves, again, to role model to humanity what is possible. So I will just finish that story quickly. She was back out into the world, and she texted me one night and she said, Miss, it's a situation, and I'm wondering if you can come and help me. Okay.
Wow.
She tells me where she is. And again, I should not be doing this, but here I am going down to a very, very rough neighborhood in the city of Toronto. And I went right inside the crack house, and I did what I needed to do to get her out there safely. Now, was that an easy experience? Absolutely not. Did I come in conflict with a lot of bad people? But again, I think one of my skills in life, one of my gifts, is being able to, put my conflict resolution skills in there entirely with these people. So between my heart, my passion, and my gifts, I can go into, and this is where I say, I guess I'm divinely guided, because I am going into situations that I probably shouldn't come out, the way I do, which is still in one piece, still intact.
Wow.
And with either the student, the family member, the child, or the worker, getting them out of their really hard moment and getting them out there safely, and getting myself out there safely. And again, this happens on a daily basis now, because it used to happen in my classroom. It used to happen on the streets of Toronto, but now it's happening all over the world with Help Heal Humanity in the communities that we serve and what we're doing. And even during COVID, what we've been able to achieve. Again, we're going into the hardest to serve areas, and we are making a difference. But with that, of course, comes so much courage, so much empathy, so much compassion. And if you don't have the right heart, like, again, my charity has built schools in countries where we shouldn't be successful, where we don't speak the language, but the nonverbal communication of love, and everything is in the face and in the eyes. And I know when I'm looking at really bad people that could take out a gun and shoot me right away. And when I'm looking at people with, heart, and you just have to know how to engage that audience. You need to know how to deal with them. And that's what I say. I have many hats. I know how to deal with truthfully and honestly. I think at the beginning, Ken, I was telling you, I don't know who the celebrities in the world are. I don't know the things that most people know, because I don't have TV. I don't do media. I do everything, again, intuitively, intentionally, and from heart. So I I just, again, all of it is learned behavior on a nonverbal level. And when you are actually doing things out of love and not ego and not pride, there is this, I don't know, it's this spirit that I think and I believe is around me that keeps me safe, because my intentions truly are what I say they are. There's nothing really in it for me other than being the tool between the people who believe in us and the humanity that's receiving it. So
let me ask you that. I am truly blown away that we are an hour into this. That's insane. Let me ask you this. There have to be stories of, as a recovered alcoholic, I've helped a lot of people over the years trying to get sober and clean up their lives and all that. And there's many, many, many examples of people who didn't make it.
Yeah.
That died. I've been to their funerals.
Yes. So have I.
Yeah. So talk about, and it's ironically, it becomes a driving force. It makes it drives it like, it makes it even deeper. But talk about that a little bit, because nobody has a 100% success rate, as much as we wish we could.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I will say, in this moment that I speak with you, there is multiple crises happening. And, I do have, on a personal level, I have my sister in the hospital, and on a professional level, I have some of my workers in hospital right now, like as we speak, because of the chaos that has happened in the last couple of weeks of doing our food delivery programs, of doing our school programs. So I have been to funerals where I cry, and and I've given eulogies. I've given many eulogies, from my friends to my immediate family to my colleagues, because, their life ended badly, either being of service or being mainly, and that's the one that hurts me the most, is the mental health component, whether it's drugs, addictions, or just mental health. That is the number. And, I just recently did a show with Christopher where all we spoke about was mental health, because if your mental health is not in the right space, if your mental health is not okay, nothing in your life is okay. And that's why I try to focus on the life skills, the social skills, the gratitude prayers, the journals, the meditation, because with all of that, you need to shift your mind. And it's so sad when you watch, especially the people that you love, destroy themselves through drugs, alcohol, addictions, depression, schizophrenia. It happens every day, all the time, close to us and all over the world. And unless people start to accept that, acknowledge it, and learn how to not only de-escalate the situation, not only provide the tools, the resources, and the coping mechanisms, but then in the darkest of moments, which I always believe the darkest moments is what, really sets our next steps and our new direction in life. It's when you're completely broken, like when you've hit rock bottom. And when we've hit rock bottom, you're either going to then die, which is a very sad reality, or you're going to go on to try very hard to transform your life. So on both occasions, I'd like to be there to either give you the tools to transform the lives or to support you in your last dying days. Again, we didn't really focus much on the charity, but an extension of Help Heal Humanity is going to the hospitals, going to the jails, or going to the hospice and holding people's hands in death, in dying, and just letting them know that they're not alone. And we do this a lot, especially in Haiti. We do this back home too, because like the projects that I run on a local basis, that just happen out of the goodness of my heart. The global projects happen because of the work that happened locally. And those global projects have really shifted my entire perspective on life. And again, I watched my mom die in my arms. I watched my dad die in my arms. I watched my sister nearly die in my arms. I did watch students die in my arms. And it was those moments that I also realized life is so much more than the paycheck.
Yeah.
And as you know, Chris says, we only have so many moments in this life. And what are you going to do with those moments? And what is somebody going to say at your eulogy? And I've
Right.
many eulogies, and I would just like to know that I made a difference in this world and I helped people. And again, that doesn't come with a big paycheck, but it comes with a big heart and good karma, and more than anything, a community, both locally, like my team, my board right now, just phenomenal people, like you said. Patricia Gagic, incredible. Mark, I have, a guy named Mark, a guy named Sunny. I have a girl, Natalie, like I have Jane. I have all these amazing people that are here to support this charity so that we can elevate our presence and make a big, big difference in the world. Like Patricia is saying, don't forget to mention our school in Cambodia, Mama Patricia, and I call her Mama Patricia.
In Nairobi?
She is, yes. So we have a project in Nairobi, Kenya right now where we are building a school. And we are 100% facilitating the second level of a school for grades 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Wow.
And in Colombia, Mama Patricia has already built a library. She sustained a library. And now we're building a school for the kids to have a classroom with 25 kids receiving an education. So again, because now it's not just me and I have this incredible board and this incredible team, we have extended our projects well beyond Haiti, like she said, into Kenya, into Cambodia. There's a beautiful woman who runs Art Tour International who wants to do a project in Colombia. We have projects in Mallorca, Spain. We have projects in Toronto and Hamilton. And this all happened with no plan. Now we have a plan and a vision, but this all just started with stepping outside ourselves and allowing ourselves to be used for the greater good of others. And what I ask people all over the world is to donate your gift, because every single one of us have a gift. My gift in particular is being able to go into these communities and spread love and bring joy and bring hope and opportunity. But I can't do that gift if all the other people around me aren't supporting their gift to our charity, right? So if you are a chef, and we have Dining for Humanity where we ask all restaurants to round up to the nearest dollar for us. If you're an artist, we're asking artists to donate a certain proceed of their art or their collection to our charity. If you're a business, again, let us be your corporate responsibility charity for giving. For educators, let us come into your school, let us run programs, let us inspire your youth, because really our charity was formed based on youth action. And youth action brought me to this place where now it's not so much the youth as it is the adults and the board helping me, but going into the classrooms all over the world, not just in Canada, everywhere, and inspiring the youth that it is them who can make a big difference in the world. So again, go ahead.
Are you in Canada right now?
Yes, right now,
okay.
Because of COVID, I'm in Canada. But then, but most of my life is on the road, because part of our charity, which I am exceptionally proud of, and again, this is how I hope and feel like Help Heal Humanity will be a leading charity for our planet, because again, we don't have paid employees at this point. So all your money that is being donated is going directly to our projects. And more importantly, either Miss B, Serena, or one of our board members is on the ground overseeing that money. So your money is not getting lost. Your money is not being sent to somebody where we don't know what is happening. Unless myself or somebody from the Help Heal Humanity team is on the grounds overseeing those funds and putting, like, the proof is in the pudding and the videos and the receipts. Again, I will show my financials to everybody in the world, because I'm very proud of the leaders who have gotten us here and the ones that are going to get us to where we need to be. And that is all heart, that is all spirit, and that is all connection. And again, you don't need a massive education for that. You don't need a big paycheck for that. You just need your heart and your soul. And together, if you give up one day of your life for humanity, if everybody just one day gave up their life, one day out of 365 days, and went out into the world and did good for somebody else without expectation, without payback, without rewards, that little shift, that one day would transform the planet.
Amen, amen, and amen. I agree. I totally agree. You know, another gift that you may not realize that you have that I'm going to point out is you definitely have the gift of gab.
Yes, I do. I'm sure there's some people here who are going to laugh. It's really hard to get me to like stop.
I know. Well, I'm really good at it. So, and although I could be on here all day with you, I don't have that luxury to do that. So,
Yeah.
listen, I want to, and plus I want people to want to listen. And if we keep it close to an hour,
yeah,
on the podcast platforms, people are more likely to listen, and I want them to listen. So helphealhumanity.org is the website, right? Yeah. And wow, I am
social media. Again, social media, it's either Serena Bufalino or Help Heal Humanity. Send us an email, send us a text, like us, follow us, join our newsletter, and literally together, I promise you, we will do something amazing. No matter what it is, if it's personal or if it's, out into the world, we will do something amazing together. So
you are doing some amazing things, absolutely mind-blowing.
And thank you, Ken, for having me on your show, and thank you
my gosh,
for introducing us. And again, it's just sharing each other's platforms. So I'm going to shut up now. It's 11:11. The angels are saying stop. So thank you, Ken. You could close us out.
You're amazing. I want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody who shared this out. If you didn't share it out, shame on you. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke. But thank you to everybody who's been on here, shared this out. Yeah, Ron said it. Ken Wall's speechless. Unbelievable. Like I'm blown away. Like
thank you, Ron.
There's not many people. My wife is thanking you.
Thank you, Jill.
Chris is.
I love you, Christopher.
Yeah, he's amazing. And so thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. And you know what? Maybe we'll have you on again. I'm blown away. You're amazing. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Let's do it again.
We will. You guys have a great day. Serena, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.